You're live. It is incredible. Wow,
I
wow,
gotta make
wow.
sure my zipper's up.
All right, mine's down, so we got to make sure we don't match. That's
Okay,
important. So hey, so folks, you ever been pitch slapped? Like, what the hell does that even mean, right? You've been pitch slapped. Yeah, I bet you have, though. What's interesting is Ron Tite's going to talk to us about being pitch slapped. He's going to talk to us about how Times Square is everywhere and a lot of stuff. He's got a great new book, Think, Do, Say, which at first I was kind of disappointed because it's not funny, but it's super freaking actionable and it's super freaking relevant. And Ron is one of the nicest guys I know. So I'm like, hey, I should talk to Ron. So here we go. What's up, Ron Tite? How are you, brother?
Phil, I am fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I am fantastic. Even though we're a little later than I expected, it is just the right time to be pitch slapped. So Ron, let me see if I understand what a pitch slap is. So today I get a random sales development rep. I train these folks, right? I train them all the time. Random sales development rep sends me, thanks for connecting. Now, no connection at all, really.
Right.
Just sent me a message. She's an SDR, sales development rep. She's reaching out from her company name. We're a blah, blah, blah company that provides a tool that blah, 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 blah. With the clients we've worked with, they've seen increased productivity among their reps, greater opportunity for coaching, greater overall revenue. As someone who has a sales enablement, sales leadership background is asked to increase overall revenue performance through strategic initiatives, I thought it'd be worth a quick chat to discuss your sales strategy and see if we would be a good fit. Best, her name. So is that a pitch slap, Ron, or is that just a sleazy come on?
You know what sound I hear in my head when I read an invite like that? This is what I hear.
Ah! Right?
That's what I hear. It's a pitch slap of epic proportions. But there's a couple of things there that I think are really make one of the an epic pitch slap. So the first thing is like no context whatsoever, that this is being delivered to you without customization. It is a spray and pray. And with all the data capabilities that we have, that everything we've been told and that everything we've dreamed about, of being able to target specific people, knowing more about them, that we have all that at our disposal, yet still people just spray and pray and send a bunch of stuff out. The second thing is jumping straight to the pitch of just like, this is who we are, this is what we do. And the second sound that I think of is somebody just going like, ugh, like they're just puking up all their speeds and feeds and product information, everything that they've been talked to, that they've been told and taught to do. And the third part is, I thought with my bias that it would be really valuable to waste your time for us to sit down, for me to grab an hour in your calendar, Phil, knowing so much about you, and talk to you how the thing that I represent and that I sell and that I am compensated on is so perfect for you. Even though nothing I have said previous to this message has indicated that I know anything about you. And so that is like click archive in the fastest way possible. And that is a pitch slap. Now, the only thing I will say that is worse than that pitch slap is the disguised pitch slap, which is the person who says, Phil, I've been trolling through LinkedIn and I stumbled upon your special profile and that clearly you have done some amazing things in your life. What it must be like to breathe the same air as you. I would love it if you would just consider us being connected on some superficial level. Thank you. And in your brain, you're like, and here comes the pitch slap in 3, 2, 1. Now that I've got your attention, here's a PDF called Our Capability, right? It's like, don't blow smoke up my ass when you really just want to pitch slap me. That's all you want to do. So, I mean, at least the first person jumped to the, they jumped to their pitch and you allowed you to delete it in 1 click. Now I've got to do 2 clicks. You've wasted 3 more seconds of my time.
Well, in my case, I read them and I actually use them for my team for training. So these are good for me. I mean, continue to pitch slap me. I will continue to respond with no thank you. And but yeah, for most of the world though, they have no interest in a pitch slap. Most of the world is like, no. Like, so give us some more bad examples. So you gave us just the straight up pitch slap and then the disguised pitch slap. And you got a bunch of them in the book, which I have to say, out of all the stuff that's here, that's the thing that I'm going to take up for my sales team. That they can think, do, and say, which is, don't fricking do this or I'm going to beat you over the head.
That's right. I also love the I think I called it the howdy partner.
Yes.
Right. Which is the person who's like, hi, you don't know me. I don't know you. I work in a completely different field. But you know what? We should partner. That I can deliver stuff to your clients and you can deliver stuff to my clients, even though I have no clue what you actually do. And I mean, come on, like I'm gonna just randomly take the time to partner with somebody who I met in a superficial email through the social platform of the day. No, thank you.
Yeah, those are the worst. But there's a whole bunch of them in the book. You get them, and you will relate to each and every one of them, because likely if you've been on LinkedIn more than 10 minutes, you've gotten at least one of each of those probably in the last hour, which is unfortunate, right? Because LinkedIn could be a super powerful tool.
Yeah.
But it is used instead for sleaze and disgust.
Now, you know what, Phil, what I think is interesting here is that you chose to do that because you're a lovely human being who is guided by ethics and morals. And so when you read that out, you said this person's name and you didn't actually say the name, nor did you say the company. When is it going to get to the point, and I'm certainly not championing this or promoting this because I do the same thing as you. I black them out, I redact their names or whatever. But when is it going to get to the point where we go, screw it, I'm naming names?
Well, so I have friends that already do. They take screenshots, they put them up there. As long as I teach salespeople, I will never call them out by name.
Yeah.
Unless they're super persistent, right? If they don't give up, that's the thing. It's what I don't like is it's the 78th attempt, thinking that somehow I missed their first 77. That one kind of annoys me. It's like, yeah. Hey, Phil, did you get my message? Because it didn't have any value in it, but I sent it again just in case it didn't make it to the spam bucket.
Yeah.
And so I always teach my team, right? You got to add value before you add the volume. You got to add value, make personal connections, because your goal, here's what happens, right? Even if it goes to the other mailbox, if one slips through and hits my inbox and it looks interesting and I hit reply, whammo, the other 11 now show up in the inbox and I'm looking through and I'm going to ghost you if you suck on those other 11, if it's the same message, because I've seen that, right? I get that. Like, hey, send you another message. Hey, send you the same message. Hey, and how does this one get through? I don't know, but it did. And now I got 12 of them, like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it has ever happened that somebody replied to one of those and said, how did I miss the other 8? I am so sorry. I've been meaning to get back to you.
Yeah.
For this random pitch.
Yeah. Terrible.
But
terrible.
I think it will be a turning point and I'm with you. I mean, I don't name names or anything, but at some point it's going to start to happen. And I try and use that as a guide for myself. Because look, I'm not saying that we don't pitch people. Look, I own an agency here. I'm pitching myself as a speaker and stuff. So I know that we need at some point. I just had a book. Trust me, I've come out of the largest pitch slap month of my life. I'm like, hey, did you know I had a book? I got a book. Did you read the book? Did you buy the book? So I get it. But what I try and do is any piece of communication, my frame of reference is they're going to post this. Yeah. They're going to post it. And am I cool with them posting this? So even into a direct email that I sent to people who are signed up for something called the Tite Report that announced the book, I said in that email, if you think this is a subtle ploy just to pitch slap you, you're right. This is an epic pitch slap. And I'd love to stay and chat, but I've got to go recruit 500 fake Amazon reviews. So I made fun of the very thing that I was doing in hopes of people going like, okay, he totally knows what he's doing here. And there's at least a little bit of humor, which can add a little bit of value.
Well, and I would say, hold on, you've already built up a bit of a relationship capital with those folks. That's the other thing, right? I mean, this is not first time. Like, I've never talked to Mary Kate, Pat, Jane, whatever her name is. Right? Yeah. I've never talked to her before. So the first point is build up some capital first, right? That's again, that will add some value first. Like come up with something, right? Hey, I see as a VP of sales training, often you struggle with this, this, and this in the software industry. And you know what? We've got a report. I'd love to have a chat with you about how we can make you more effective, because we've talked to other VPs of sales training.
Yeah.
And they might be able to, and we've got some insight. Well, or hey, did you know, here's something I totally didn't know, right? Challenge me with some stuff first. Give me a challenger sale, right? Something.
Yep.
Don't slide right into the DMs with a pitch slap. That's the thing, right? So yeah, stay the heck out of there. So Ron, let's move away from that, because we could talk pitch slap all day. But what I think is interesting, and I'm kind of slow, so I didn't get this at first, but TDS, think, do, say. I look through, because I'm reading the book, I'm like, TDS, what's that? I kind of missed that, right? So that's the first thing. But I think it's interesting, right? Because it does break down into those nice 3 parts. So let's talk through that, Ron. Think, do, say. What does that even mean?
So the first part is that, it's all 3 of those together. Those are the 3 that if you want to be a successful salesperson, a successful marketing, a successful leader, it is really a successful organization. It's about what you think, do, and say. And sometimes people think like, oh, it's really just about the think. And I'm just going to be an academic. And like, no. And there's a lot of those people, right? They're just like, they're constantly churning out thought pieces. And that's great. There's a lot of competition though, because, if all you do is think, you're a philosopher, and anybody with an Instagram account and a Maya Angelou quote is a philosopher these days. So a lot of competition there. If on the other hand, if all you do is do, and we know this, right, that we start chasing things, and we define our success by the number of hours we work, not the contribution of those hours to our stated purpose or strategy. So there are people who are just on this treadmill of I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Those people, they're not as popular with their colleagues as they think they are. And, and on the say side, if as a person, all you do is talk about the things you're going to do, but you never do them, you're going to be found out. So it is really about combining all 3 of those things. So very quickly, on the think side, the reason we need to think is because of the pitch slap. So we need to elevate that out of, we need to add value in other ways. We need to stand for something. We need to have a soul to what we do, because everybody is talking speeds and feeds and price points. And so, what do you fundamentally believe in? And so if you believe in that thing, as Nike told us, and that's me leaning into the microphone, that if you believe in that, you should believe in it, even if it means sacrificing everything. So don't just believe in it when it's convenient to your sales process. But if you believe in something and there's a soul to what you do, then you believe in it. So what do you believe? The second part is, what actions do you consciously take? How do you behave with intent to reinforce that belief? This can be, what products do you develop? What process do you take? What surprise and delight things do you do? What is your internal process? All those. What actions do you take that reinforce that belief? And then, and that is based on who you do it for, what they want you to do, and who you do it with. And then the third part is, look, because we all do need to talk about the stuff we do on some level, but if we believe in something that is our soul, and we actually behave in a way that reinforces that belief, then that's worth talking about. It really is. But if it's worth talking about, then shouldn't we talk about it in an authentic way, and in a transparent way, and in an honest way, so that we can actually not just add value, but build trust over time, so that people come back to us time and time again. And so that's what it is. Those 3 things combined.
Awesome. Well, that's simple yet super powerful, right? So the soul and beliefs, right? What do you believe? And then how do you behave with intent to reinforce that belief? And then how do you talk about it, right? How do you tell your story? How do you make sure that it builds that trust over time? So it's not just a story, like a seminal story. It is a series of stories that continue to reinforce that make that a nice flywheel, right? That hopefully spins faster and faster and faster and makes that happen. So
exactly. Yeah, by combining them, you get this great momentum, and the problem with chasing tactics, and these it's the people like the reason we're getting pitch slapped on LinkedIn is because the pitch slapping on Twitter was outdated like 6 months ago, right? So it's just the next thing. And so there are people who are like, I always got this thing. I always got this trick. And the problem with that, because those might work, right? There are people who say, or they're saying, look, I did it and you may disagree with it, but it drove X number of % of revenue. Okay, great. That's awesome. But when that tactic dies down, what's your next thing? Your next thing is that you're always chasing the next platform, so you can never actually scale your effort. So, here's a great example. When I started this agency, I promised myself, I was a former executive creative director at a large multinational agency. And when I started this one, I promised myself that I wouldn't immediately pitch the clients that I had just worked with. Like, hey, it's me. Now I got my own thing. Kraft, Volvo, Xerox, like none of that. So I said, I'm not going to do that. And the very first project I got was from a client who was a client of mine 10 years before that at Dell. And when she found out that I was, that I just started my own agency, she said, I'll give you a project. And I said, oh, and she's, and she's like, I'll think of something. And so she helped me launch this business with the first, it was a small project, but she didn't have to do that. And it was because that over the years, she had seen that I continually added value, that I was a good human being, that, that I didn't chase the tactics, that I didn't start by pitching her. And so because of that, she wanted to help me out. And that started the whole thing. And I wouldn't have got that had she been somebody that I would have chased the metrics on.
That's so fascinating because, some of the clients that I coach, often that happens to them, right? They end up when they pivot their business, it's because they're a good person that then they get the next piece of business, not because necessarily of the business itself. Though absolutely, you have to be great at what you do. Let's be really clear here.
Yeah.
You can't. It isn't a think, pretend, say. Right?
Yeah,
it's think, do, say. Really important. You still have to do your job well, but that good person, kind of that act with integrity. I think integrity is the wheel. That's the whole freaking wheel.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing, right? When it breaks, when it falls out of integrity, you got to bring it back together. So I think that makes so much sense that acting with integrity then continues to kind of reinforce the think, do, say model really, really strongly. That's something that can't be overlooked.
Yeah, and when you don't, that's what I call an integrity gap.
Yep.
An integrity gap is when there's a contradiction between what an individual person thinks, does, and says, and what the organization supposedly thinks, does, and says, or if you've got a personal brand, you're a solopreneur or whatever, that the perception of who you are doesn't match the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's pivot into that because last week I talked with Rand Fishkin from SparkToro, who's measuring now influence in different ways, in more real ways. And he's got the kind of the capital I influencer, but you're talking about these scummy influencers, which I think is funny to talk about here, that they care more about money than the message, which is really important. So talk to me about influencers, and I'm putting air quotes around that for anybody who's not watching the video. What's that mean?
Yeah. So what that means, influencers, and I'll, full disclosure, we run influencer. That's some of the things. We don't do a heck of a lot of it, but we will occasionally say to clients like, yep, the influencer can help you achieve this goal. And as long as you, work with influencers who are consistent with your brand and you treat them like they're a media property and that you're buying an ad. So when we look at how influencers typically work, the current definition of that is that there is a social platform which starts, right? And we've seen it happen a number of times. So pick one. A social platform starts, and that social platform says, finally, you can connect with another human being, just you and the people who share your tastes, right? Great. And then what they say is, and that pulls eyeballs away from traditional media, right? And so we just all start to gather at this social media park, and we're all there. And the brands are going, they left television. Who do we? And we see like, well, this person, they've got 10,000 followers in this park. why don't we give them money and have them talk about the brand thing? And so then we're using their influence as a conduit to the eyeballs that we want to reach. And those people who are following that person say, I love this person because they share brand stories of the things they're using, and they don't have a sales bias, and they can talk in a way that is honest and transparent, and I love it. And that's why I buy into following them. That's why they are an influencer into the decisions I make, because they're not biased. But the second a brand shows up to that influencer and says, how about 20 grand if you make a video? And they go, all right, I'll take your 20 grand. And then we end up with the Scott Disick, place where he just like copied and pasted the instruction from the agency into his Instagram feed. And so then what happens? The users who are all following all these people go, this doesn't work for me anymore, because now it's just a bunch of people pitching brand shit. So I'm going to chase that. I'm going to go to that other new social media platform because there's no influence there. And then the cycle just repeats itself. And so if you are a media property as an influencer, if you want to have a career, and I mean a lifelong career, not just a 3-year career, a lifelong career, that has to come with integrity. And integrity means you don't just shill somebody, and that you actually build an audience who trusts you and your opinion. Because the second you break the trust, they walk. And if everybody walks, you have no career.
No more audience, no more influence, no more leadership. Bye-bye money. Now you're homeless.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's talk about a real influencer, though, that you actually mentioned in the book. Adrian Flynn, which was one of my favorite stories in the book, Ryan. You got a lot of great stuff in Think, Do, Say. I really, really enjoyed the book. It's laid out beautifully, by the way. The funniest part is your quotes from famous people that they didn't really say. I think you stole those from Stratton, huh? So, yeah, you must have. So, but that's funny. But Adrian Flynn was one of the best stories in the book. So talk about Adrian Flynn and why she was a real influencer and how she made a real difference for the organization she was with.
Yeah, so Adrian, I met last summer, a year and a half ago, I guess. And so there is a business in Western Canada called the Co-op, and the Co-op is a cooperative. It is grocery and it is petroleum, and it serves a lot of Western Canada. And their tagline of the Co-op is "You're at home here." It's very local, very, very local. And so I was out in Abbotsford, BC, presenting to, I think it was probably 500 frontline employees. So I'm talking like frontline, people like deli clerks and grocery store cashiers and people who pump gas in the gas stations. And so we're talking about like, how can you as a person, as a frontline employee, bring this promise of "you're at home here" to life through your actions? And so Adrian spoke up and she said, look, I found it really difficult to do that because I work in Abbotsford. And to your viewers and listeners who don't know where Abbotsford is in British Columbia, south of Vancouver. And it is home to a very large South Asian population. And so she said, look, like most of the people who come in don't speak my language. And so I find it very difficult to welcome them, make them feel at home. And so Adrian, gas pumping Adrian, went out and on her own time and on her own dime and learned Punjabi. So she thought it, she did it, and she said it, but she said it in Punjabi. And we're talking about mattering to people, and somebody who is clearly not South Asian going out and saying something to you in Punjabi. Like, do you understand like how special that's going to make you feel? I mean, that's incredible. And so does she have influence over the people that she serves? Most definitely. They're going to trust her opinion. And does she use that and take that for granted? No, she does not. She continually adds value to those people. And so, yeah, I love it as a story. I've met many CEOs, some very famous CEOs who have done wonderful, amazing things. And I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever been as inspired by somebody who says, I'm not making a lot of money. I know it's a part-time job, but I'm going to invest in myself for the role that I'm currently in. She's going places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the employee that I'd want to work for me.
Hmm.
Someone that's going to take responsibility for making that decision to make things better, right? To your point, thought about it, did it, said it in a different language, took that on, and now is able to hopefully infect others with that idea that they can indeed make a difference if they'll go do that. And hopefully it also then influenced the organization to say, you know what, perhaps we should offer Punjabi as a language for our folks, or whatever the second language is, so that we can actually touch people, right? So that's such omnidirectional influence. It's fantastic. You
Yeah.
never see that.
What I love about the story as well is that as amazing as Adrian is and was in that situation, um, what was clear to me was that this was also an organization whose CEO had empowered and inspired their people to do that. And so, not surprisingly, so it was Otter Co-op is the local co-op. It's a regional thing. And so Jack Nicholson, not that Jack Nicholson, but a different Jack Nicholson, who's the CEO of Otter Co-op, was just this year named as EY Entrepreneur of the Year. This is an established organization with such great history and longevity that is a co-op, and EY's Entrepreneur of the Year for Vancouver was awarded to Jack. And I think because he obviously takes on a lot of the attributes that a more contemporary version of a startup CEO or entrepreneur takes on. So it's both sides, right? Adrian had the commitment to do it, but she was also inspired by the senior leadership within the organization to want to do it.
Yeah. Super freaking awesome. So as we kind of wrap up here, talking about think, do, say, Ron, one thing that stuck out, and you said this early in the book, is about Times Square. The Times Square is everywhere. Talk about that and how that's impacting leaders, impacting salespeople, impacting us all with a variety of things.
Yeah. So, Times Square, and you'll appreciate this. We were shooting some stuff there this summertime. Myself and David Kalinakis from Airfoil. And we had a crew and we were shooting, and I was doing some stuff to camera, and then we did it like 4 or 5 times with all this in the background. And then we wrapped, and then I hear this like young girl, like this, probably 10, 11 years old, and she's running through the crowd, like, excuse me. And then she goes, "Are you a YouTuber?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a YouTuber." And she's like, "Well, you should be because you're really good. Okay, bye." And she like left. But anyhow, so if you look at Times Square, this is the most expensive promotional real estate in North America. But there's actually 2 levels of Times Square. The first level is what we'll call the establishment level. And these are big brands or individual people who have a legacy. We know them, we respect them, they've got enough budget to do the things to appear on that level. And so it's filled with opportunity. It's really expensive to be there. The top level is filled by the establishment. Everything is polished. The production value is really, really nice. But to the end consumer who's standing in the middle of that, they don't know where to look. Like they have no clue. It's just wall to wall promotion by the establishment who's paying a lot of money to be there. So that's on one level up here, but down on the street is a whole other level that no one's talking about. Because if we buy into the fact that we're all trying to win the battle for time, we've got up here going bing, 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 glitzy, flashy, bright, But down on street level, you've got people who are more nimble. You got people who are more aggressive. You got people who can be more targeted because they go, "Phil, I see you wear glasses. I can make a comment about that." And they also were not exactly sure of the business model. Like, are those T-shirts really legal? Not exactly sure. This person telling me the end of the world is coming. Don't buy that. Somebody else is trying to steer me into a comedy club, to gain $5 on the cover charge. There's a lineup of police officers with shotguns over here. So there might be somebody who has something good to sell, but it's in this ecosystem of scam that I don't trust. And so the result, I think, is an ecosystem that represents pretty much every sales relationship in every industry on the earth, which is, I don't know where to look and I don't know who to trust. And and just because we think it's glitzy and great production value and we're the establishment, people are looking at that going, I don't buy perfection because no one's perfect. and you're just competing against everybody else. And then to the other people, you're like, just because you're nimble and you can reach out and connect with me individually on LinkedIn, the way you're delivering it just reeks of no credibility. So I'm not buying it. So most people are stuck in this zone of, I don't know where to look and I don't know who to trust. And that's a real problem.
Yeah. Huge problem, man. Huge problem. So yeah, no, there's probably no thought that goes into that other than, hey, I got to get your attention. There's probably no do, right? They don't behave. They just blah. And then what do they say? Well, all they do is talk, and they never listen, which is not valuable either.
Exactly.
So cool, man. So yeah, so the book is Think, Do, Say, folks. If you're looking for a great read, it's super fast. Best $25 you'll invest this week. It's a really good. This is Ron Tite. So Ron, if people were going to take one more lesson from the book, from Think, Do, Say, to maybe get started down the path of thinking, of doing, or of saying, what would it be?
I think that people have to commit to playing the long game. You know, and I don't know who to point the finger at that, because part of me thinks that it's the individual people who make individual choices to go, I'm just going to play the short game. I'm just going to get this quick little metric. I'm just going to send this one email. I just want one person to respond. And we've forgotten that we're actually here for a long time, that we have to build a business and a career and a reputation that will scale over time. So I don't know whether it's their fault or whether it's even just individual shareholders who are demanding quarterly numbers from publicly traded companies over and over and over again. And that just trickles its way down the organization, where a CEO says to a VP, who says to a director, who says to a manager, I don't care, just meet your numbers. And when you look at the real disruption in most categories, what we're finding is, you can see this, right? It's the people who actually haven't played the short-term game. They're like, don't worry about profitability. We're going growth. We're choosing growth over profitability. And those are the people where this patience has played out beautifully. But to establish organizations, we're not as patient. So that's, I think, is the main thing. Like, you know what? I'm gonna follow these three words, but more than anything, I'm not going to play the short game. I'm going to play the long game. Awesome.
Love that advice, Ron. Think, Do, Say is the book, folks. Play the long game. Think, do, and say what you need. The TDS model is in the book. Lots and lots of great stuff. Ron, if people want to get more connected with you, where would you send them?
Pitch slap me on LinkedIn. Ron Tite, Tite. Pretty much in every platform, it's that. Instagram /Ron Tite, Twitter @Ron Tite. It's everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
If you want to check out the agency, the website of Church and State is churchstate.co.
Pick up a copy of Think, Do, Say, folks. Lots of great stuff here from my friend Ron Tite. Lots to learn. Don't pitch slap either one of us. Connect, listen, learn. Have a great time. Thanks so much, everyone. Have an awesome day. See you later.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Ron.